didn't give me the fight, but eventually I'd like to fight Jones again and try to avenge the first loss.
So you really want that, Jon Jones?
Yeah, I mean, I think every guy in the division wants to fight him. He has been the champ for a long time, and anytime a guy's a long-time champion, you want to be the one to beat him.
And how do you feel about Jon Jones' little fiasco, him stepping off and not being able to step into the octagon?
Well, man, people make mistakes. Hopefully this is the mistake that Jon learned from, and he comes back a better person. We all know he can fight. He'll hopefully clean up the things outside of the octagon and be all right.
And that's next. That's on your plate.
Yeah.
And anything you want to tell the fans about Gustafsson?
No, he's a good fighter. He's a tough guy. He's gonna be very motivated for this second opportunity. I know how it was when I got my second chance, so I know the type of motivation he's gonna have, being that this is gonna be his second opportunity to become the champion. So I anticipate a very tough fight and the best Alexander Gustafsson that we've ever seen.
So after the Jon Jones loss, you were hungry?
I was very hungry. Yeah.
Question. I'm gonna let you go get your hair cut.
All right.
But how do you feel about how he matched up with Anthony Johnson versus the way you did? Do you feel like he didn't do well in that fight? Well, he gave up?
Obviously, he didn't have his best fight. But I think it all came down to one mistake. With a guy like Anthony Johnson, if you make a mistake, the fight's over. So I think Alexander made a mistake. If they fought 10 times, I'm sure they would. The results would vary. Made a mistake. That's all it was.
That's all it was.
I didn't make any mistakes.
Well, thanks for your time, champ, and can't wait to see a new haircut.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
UFC 210, Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson. Daniel Cormier and Anthony Johnson fought at UFC 187, and the title was vacant at that point. Anthony Johnson scored an early knockdown, but he was dominated in that fight. Daniel Cormier's wrestling was really the thing that propelled him to win that fight. And in that third round, he choked Anthony Johnson out, and he totally dominated him. And Anthony Johnson has done some tremendous things. After that, he went on a winning streak, and he's still the #1 ranked contender. So he deserves this fight, and we're going to get to see a rematch between the two best in the light heavyweight division. Daniel Cormier is the champ, and he's been the champ since UFC 187. He's defended it, and he defended it against Alexander Gustafsson, and he beat Alexander Gustafsson. He also had another fight after that at UFC 200. He fought the great one, Anderson Silva, and he dominated him again there, won every single round. And we're going to get to see if Anthony Johnson has grown as a fighter. He's a tremendous power hitter. He's got so much power. He could land a devastating knockout. And Daniel Cormier survived that in the first fight. He survived everything that Anthony Johnson had to throw out there. And that's why he's the champ. And I want to ask you guys, the fans, who you feel is going to be the victor after this fight is over. It's going to be a 5-round fight. And I'm sure most people are going to go with Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier, these two were supposed to fight a few months ago, and Daniel Cormier had a groin injury, and he had to pull out of the fight. So we're going to get to see the fight that we've been wanting to see for a while now. And Anthony Johnson went on a 3-fight winning streak after losing at UFC 187. And he beat Manua, he beat Ryan Bader, and he smashed Ryan Bader. It was so quick. He also beat Glover Teixeira. And those are some of the high-ranking guys in that light heavyweight division, ranked, in the top 10. So Anthony Johnson won 3 in a row, and he proved, Bader right now is ranked at number 4. So he just smashed Bader. So he proved that he deserves another title fight. Anthony Johnson is the older fighter. A younger fighter. Daniel Cormier is much older. Anthony Rumble Johnson's 32 years old, and Daniel Cormier is closer to 40. He's 37 years old. I don't think he's at the point where he's slowed down, but Anthony Johnson is 5 years younger. Could that be an advantage in this fight? Is Anthony Johnson going to be able to overcome Daniel Cormier's wrestling, his pedigree wrestling? Is he going to be able to stop the takedown? Is he going to be able to dish out the power that he has? And Anthony Johnson went on a tremendous winning streak before getting that title fight. He fought a ton of fights outside UFC. He really went through the ringer. He had to do a lot to get back into UFC. And then he fought some astounding fights when he got back to UFC. His fight against Gustafsson proved that he deserved the title shot. Gustafsson was crying after that fight. He embarrassed Gustafsson in that first round. So, we also saw the Nogueira fight, and he smashed him there in the first round too. So this guy has tremendous power. Remember it from the old days. We remember him being a smaller fighter in UFC, a guy who cut a lot of weight, a guy who had beautiful hands and crazy head kicks. And we remember the Charlie Brenneman fight. knocked him out, and everything kind of went against him when he lost at UFC 142 and Vitor Belfort in that fight, and that's when he had to go out and fight outside UFC, fought that Andre Arlovski fight. So this guy has a ton of heart, and he's not going to stop fighting. He proved that he would do whatever it took to come back to UFC. Could he beat a guy that totally dominated him in the first fight? I think it's possible, guys. I'm going to go with Daniel Cormier here. I think he's going to do what he does best, out-wrestle Anthony Johnson and put him to sleep again.